I think the EU has included equality, not necessarily and specifically gender equality. I think that happened quite a bit later, and it has singularly failed to deliver, I would say, in almost every aspect. The sort of situation, the sort of working environment, the sort of living environment that most women would aspire to be able to lead. I mean, obviously we're doing an awful lot better in Europe than we are further afield. I spend a lot of time travelling in the developing world, and frankly that's a much, much harder place to be a woman. But I think that the EU suffers from a great deal of complacency, and it's very difficult to go in some patronising way around the rest of the world recommending what they should do when your own house isn't in order. Particularly in the UK where I live, you don't really find women connecting with Brussels in any particular way. They don't see Brussels as representing something that connects with them. And, you know, frankly, at a time like this, when, you know, there's a referendum coming up and so on, I think it would be very advantageous for the EU to develop a message, act on a principle, and ensure that women in the European Union were engaged and felt represented here in this city. Personally, I'm very much in favour of quotas. I think that what we're trying to do in terms of gender equality is fast forward millennia of human history in a mere 100 years, really, at this point, you know, from the first sort of actions of the suffragettes. And you can't get that sort of fundamental change in a short period of time unless you take dramatic action. The argument against quotas that's continually thrown out is always about how, you know, what would happen because you'd get all these mediocre women in positions of power. But, you know, again, we've had thousands and thousands of years of many mediocre men in positions of power, and we've managed to survive it. So if a few mediocre women, you know, rise to the top and then float back down to the bottom, it doesn't seem to me the end of the world. And in the end, it will be people who are ambitious and accomplished who will succeed. But I think that women very much still need a kind of leg up at this point in order to reach in any shape or form the sort of platform that men currently inhabit very confidently on their own. And if you look at somewhere like Norway, you know, I think for 5 years they had the quota system to get women onto boards. They achieved the numbers they wanted. It fell away a bit, and now it's sort of hovering around 40-something%. That's absolutely great. From where I'm sitting, you know, with the figures in the UK, you know, that looks magical to me. It's nirvana. The fact that in this day and age, a woman doing the same job as a man can earn up to 40% less than him is just untenable and has to stop, you know. So we need that legislation enforced. You know, in Britain it's been nearly 40 years since the Equal Pay Act, and still, you do nothing. I think it was 1957 in the European Union. So it's just, that can't go on. But I think we also have to engage, you know, we're talking a lot about Europe here, but we also have to engage with what we do and the messages that we send out further afield. You know, at the moment, a lot of European countries are worried about migration. Well, obviously, if people are educated and economically empowered, they're not going to be flooding to the European Union in hope of doing our worst possible jobs as a step up the ladder for them. And so one of the things that we're very proud of at the Great Initiative, which is the small foundation that I started, is having influenced the UK government into an amendment on the International Development Act, which for the first time ever makes gender parity, gender equality a consideration in the £11 billion in aid we give out every year.